I'm Robert Moss Freeland. I curated this show at the PII Gallery in Philadelphia, and I'm very pleased that I was able to find 4 very talented artists that had unique approaches to the theme of the nature of time and place. They were Sheila Miles, Patricia Moss Freeland, Marta Sanchez, and Perry Steindl.
My name is Sheila Miles. I'm an automatic painter, which means that my work emerges from my marks. I'm interested in shapes and lines, and I've lived in many, many places, so time and place is always relevant to me, although frequently I don't know what time or place it is. It emerges. Most of my work has houses in it, which for me is my home, is a home wherever I move. I've lived in many places from the East Coast to the West Coast, and traveled Europe. A lot of my work is about dream imagery, dreams of color, and the fantasy, in this case, of living in a tree, traveling, living next to the water. I'm influenced by the weather and nature. Most of my work has a rural influence because although I love the city, I've mostly lived around cows, trees, fields. I'm a prairie girl. I look for information in the landscape. But I really travel through my mind and my imagination.
I am Patricia Moss Freeland. I have always made art to create a sense of order and meaning to life, to transcend the everyday, and to get lost in another world. This has been a way of life for me since the time I can remember. Memory, which is about time and place, imagination and metaphor are central to my work. I explore nature, beauty, pattern and recognition, and how they respond to each other. I enjoy moving between representation and abstraction, and all the spaces in between, so I see these as intertwining realities. Sometimes I add language from my own poetry to create new narratives, and I have discovered that the mixing of images and the written word become abstracted through memory, and I'm very interested in this. In the pigment prints, which I've titled A Parallel Universe, I explore metaphoric relationships between memory and neurological activity. And these compositions are important to form meaningful connections, which is important in the making of memory, and as we are multisensory, it becomes a sensory observatory, interpretive and suggestive. In other works, I explore ideas about regeneration and disparate realities. I mix the figure, elements of nature, and the imagined to converge for different and new viewing. In all of my work, there is a layering of many different elements and how they're rendered and how I place them in different juxtapositions to evoke a poetic moment, to pause and create reflection.
Hi, my name is Marta Sanchez, and I'm a painter and a printmaker, as well as an activist living in Philadelphia. I'm originally from San Antonio, and I've been living here for over 25 years, working on narratives. While some of them are figurative and depict a specific story, others are just backdrops to the beginning of a narrative. I kind of like the idea of creating something in the sense that it's going to be recorded, like a bookmarker to remind people of what Americana and the train yards used to be, especially now as things are changing. I wanted people to remember the times where there were hobos and circuses that used to come in and out of the train yards. These train yards are special to me because it's right across the street of my parents' house. So I go there and I study the history as well as the landscape that I see every time I go visit. As a child, I used to draw them, and now I go back and I like to rediscover certain aspects of them, such as a Mexican experience dealing with the train yard, since there were a lot of Mexicans from Mexico that used to come through that area of South Texas to create the railroads and even up to the north of the United States. So it's important for me to make sure that people are aware of it, to validate the people that created the train yards, and to validate the idea of the people that live in that area.
The drawings in this show are products of close to 50 years of my output, and I have, for all of that period, been involved with and thrilled by cities, the shapes of countries, the architecture, everything that man has built as his inhabited environment. And these imaginary places are internally generated for the most part, but they do refer to what lies in my mind as memory of places that I've seen in photographs and in various magazines and sources of visual content. And for the last couple of years, I have been pairing other images that aren't really directly related to my drawings with sections of drawings or full drawings, and just enjoying the visual interplay and having magic that one would never have expected might occur just come about before my eyes. And that's the joy of making art. It's refreshing and inspiring in that it takes us away from the anguish that we generally swim in as human beings. And this one in particular was just a form that I had seen in a magazine ad, and it just suggested some of the river systems of China. And so I thought of that as a pseudo-China, even though it's a Xerox ad, and that which looks a little bit like the shape of Spain. I was thinking of Poland and its many experiences of partition, but it's an island. It's neither Poland nor Spain nor any of those things, and it just happens that way.